everyone. We're getting this ball rolling again on YouTube Live, on the YouTube channel for Really Social Solutions. And I'm trying this out because I love trying out new technology, and this is not even new technology, it's mostly just new to me. But I hope you guys are enjoying your Monday. I am. It is hellaciously windy here in Denver, Colorado, which is where I am broadcasting from. And again, this is like, I think my third live stream that I've done from YouTube Live. And so what I wanted to bring forth to you today was something that I run into just about every day with just about everyone I work with, everywhere. And it really also stems into the fact that I'm talking about conferences this month on my monthly blog, and the fact that we're going to talk about different things. And I'm actually, let me just share this really quick on Twitter so I can make sure you guys can see it. Papers or Digital Debate. Because I want to make sure, and again, I'm learning this all as we go, and you guys just bear with me as I go ahead and share this out on Twitter. And I'm also going to share it out on Facebook and just let people know I'm trying this out. 2 people are watching. Woo! Hey, 2 people. Thanks for watching, because, hey, it's always good to have people watching. Do you guys know that's actually already usually better than a typical Facebook Live broadcast? So Roberta Blake was not lying. So thanks for watching, guys. And I want to talk about paper versus digital. First of all, if you're watching this video, and you right now, if you had to vote, and just go ahead and do in the live chat on YouTube Live, paper versus digital. And I'm talking like organization, keep your details straight, what's your vote? Do you think paper versus digital, what you got? I would love to know what you think, because I'm going to say that I'm a digital, I'm a paper wannabe digital. And I'm going to type that in. I'm a paper wannabe digital. Now, here's what I mean by that, because I have tried for years to find good apps, organizations, stuff like that. I work in digital space. I live in the cloud. I love the cloud. Yes, even on those days, like last Tuesday when Amazon S3 went down and pretty much wiped out everybody that was trying to do anything in the digital space. I still love cloud computing, and I still firmly believe in it, but those kind of things will really push you to paper. So I'm actually thinking right now of my friend Tammy Parker, and I hope she's watching out there somewhere. Let's see, I'm going to try to send this to her, and maybe I'll tag her. Let's see, I hope you're watching this, Tammy Parker. Because we all know the people in our lives who really just don't want to go in the digital space. They love paper. Let me just, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to work around my computer. Tammy Parker. Let me just, okay, public. All right. And it's posted. Let's see who I'll bring over here. So I love working in digital, and I try to do it all the time. But you guys, I find that oftentimes I start reverting back to paper. And let me just point out, after years of typing, my handwriting is crappy, okay? I can read it. I would never expect someone else to read it. It's basically chicken scratch that I'm just trying to get out there and then make sense of later. There are times I can't even read my writing later. But I go ahead and do it anyway, because sometimes to me, I'm like, I can find a pen and a piece of paper faster than, let me go get on my phone and open the right app. And do I use S-Note? Do I use Google Docs? Do I use, something else that can help me write some notes in there? It's a little easier for me to just find a piece of paper. Yes, I know that kills trees, but my gosh, it's so much more convenient. So that's what I'm rolling with. But with regards to the actual topic we're discussing today, paper versus digital, regarding conferences, and this isn't just about your productivity, but it's about like conferences. We're in the middle or starting off conference season. I've actually been to 2 conferences already this year, and it's just getting going now. A ton of you are going to social media marketing world. I've got 2 more conferences at least that I'm going to the rest of this year. And the whole time it's going to be about staying organized and figuring out where I'm supposed to be next, correct? So when you get to a conference, what I'd like to find out from you, and please comment, we've got the live chat going during this live video, but if you do comment on YouTube after you watch the replay, we'll totally answer it as well. But I would love to know from you, what is your tendency as far as what you rely upon for organizing yourself when you're attending a conference. Now, this could be whether you're a presenter or an exhibitor or your standard attendee that's just going to partake. Now, I really do like the digital component. I love apps. I love when conferences have apps that work. There's an asterisk on the end of that. But I also like when, if all else fails, again, let's think Amazon S3 last week. We all can pretty much get a tattoo saying I survived the Amazon S3 downfall of, March 2000, actually it was February 2017. Excuse me. So that was a real thing. And in that case, all the cloud computing in the world wasn't going to help us if the website or the app we needed to get to happened to be based on Amazon S3. So in that case, we need to revert back to the paper component, and if we can actually use paper to use that stuff. So I love living in digital space, but I like to have paper to fall back on. So one thing I've discussed lately with people, I did a Periscope a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the must-haves at conferences. What are the things you have to have? I think it's great when a conference can do an app. Apps are not cheap usually, and sometimes maybe you can get even someone to donate, their time. If you can say this app was brought to us by, if it's a big enough conference. I'm looking at you, South by Southwest, because you guys had an app last year. That said, apps can tend to be a bit buggy, based on A, if you've got Wi-Fi in the area, but also B, if it's well made. And I get when they do a bunch of updates, they figure out the bugs and people report back their beta testing and things like that. But oftentimes a conference is really working with a specific timeline and deadlines trying to get it out. And so you really are trying to come up with this app is ready. Maybe it's not ready. And particularly, you don't want the app to fail on you when you are trying to plot out your time. So as a conference attendee, typically you're dealing with several workshops throughout the day. And a lot of times these workshops are happening at the same time, and you have to kind of pick and choose which one can I get to. If you're by yourself, if you're solo attending a conference, it's just you. You have to go pick which one you hope will give you the most benefit and the most takeaways. So you're trying to look at which ones you should go to. An app may make that very easy. Sometimes, and I will say, as buggy as South by Southwest app was last year, they actually had it set up pretty well to where you could favorite or save certain workshops, and then it would show you your schedule saying, well, you're doubled up here, tripled up here, you're going to have to pick one. At least then you're saying, okay, well, I can go between the two. Now, if you can't provide that via an app, that's totally fine. I will not judge a conference for not having an app because I know they're expensive. They take a lot of work to put together. They take a lot of maintenance throughout the conference. It's not like you're the app's done, we're good. No, the app will continue working or not working, and people will give you feedback, and the conference is going on. And the last thing you want is your app to plunk out when you're in the midst of your conference, particularly if it's multiple days. So, that said, I don't judge a conference for not having an app. I think it's a great thing when they do have an app, particularly if they're long-term and they seem to have a big enough budget or attendance where it's okay, there's going to be a ton of people that are going to be downloading this app. We can also advertise within it, whatever, put our title sponsors. It makes sense. That said, the next step you should do as a conference, in my humble opinion, as a frequent conference attendee, is that you do need to have it in a digital warehouse, a digital space. Landing page, fine. Somewhere where people can access it with their Wi-Fi, with their smartphone, with their device, that they can see it before and during and after the conference, okay? The sooner you conference people can put up an agenda, better, because really that does kind of push out. I get if you're putting out kind of just, hey, we're going to have workshops about these topics and stuff, but if you can give people timelines, we love schedules. We conference attendees, we have taken the time and the money to get to a conference, and we really want to be able to plan our day out. Not only because we're trying to get as much out of as we can from the sessions, but maybe we've also planned some networking and we want to make sure, say, well, this person really wanted to meet for coffee. Which is better? Do I meet them or do they come to the session with me? Can I tell them where I'm going to be, right? We plan our whole conference life around that agenda. So having it somewhere where we can easily access it is crucial. Now, that has to be mobile friendly, okay? It has to be a mobile-friendly schedule for your conference. You have to make it to where I don't have to be on desktop. If I've got to pull that web page up and I've got to zoom in and try to find stuff and it's not mobile-friendly, nails on the chalkboard right there, guys. Make it mobile-friendly. Besides, anyone listening, if you have a website, if it's not mobile-friendly, Google is going to penalize you. They are in the midst of penalizing people now. So please make sure you have a mobile-friendly site, particularly when you are expecting people to access it while they're on the go. Now, that said, this is where we get back to the paper versus digital, because as much as I love digital and I love these resources on digital, I still would like to have paper, because as we attend these conferences, and we touched on this a little bit in my Periscope, sometimes Wi-Fi is not a sure thing. All right, now I might be staying in a hotel. Hopefully my hotel is nice enough to provide me Wi-Fi with my attendance or my lodging at the hotel versus making me pay extra for it. And some of you hotels out there, I'm looking at you. But hopefully I've got Wi-Fi at my hotel. Well, if the conference I'm going to is at a convention center or it's not in the hotel in which I'm staying, or it's just not even near my room, the Wi-Fi can shift. You might be entering different zones, okay? And you need to move between those zones to get to where you're going to attend the session. If it's in a convention center, that's hit or miss. Oftentimes, convention centers are charging any organization that's hosting any kind of event. They charge them to open the Wi-Fi, and they charge them a really ridiculous amount of money to where you may not have that general Wi-Fi at play. So you have to consider that. So what I would recommend any conference attendee to do is if you are able to pull up at some point with Wi-Fi, pull up that schedule. If you have a means of screenshotting that schedule, do it. Okay, this is just like when you get a boarding pass on your mobile device to go on your next flight. Always screenshot it, just because you never know, oh my gosh, I'm in line and I've got 100 people behind me and my Wi-Fi is not letting me bring it up. Well, if you got the screenshot, you don't need to worry about it. Same thing goes with a conference agenda. You don't want to be stuck without it. But again, considering that if there is spotty Wi-Fi or coverage and you don't know if you can get to that, guess what the fallback is? A paper schedule. If all else fails, the conference should provide some kind of printed schedule. Now, I'm not saying you have to go generate and produce and publish this whole big, thick magazine style portfolio of all the things happening, and it's got all these ads in it and stuff, but it does have this gorgeous glossy schedule. If you can do that, great. That's beautiful. But again, that's something I have to carry around. Whereas even if I just have a simple front and back sheet of paper, and again, it depends on the size of your conference, if I've got something I can say, okay, my battery on my phone went dead, which is yet another consideration. My battery on my phone went dead. I don't have any Wi-Fi. Oh my gosh, I can't pull this up. I can't access the schedule. Where was I going? Guess what? Let me reach my pocket, pull out the paper schedule I got from you guys when I first registered, and you got me checked in. I got my lanyard. I got my schedule. Now I can tell where I'm supposed to go. So again, all of these things matter for your conference organization and in your productivity anyway. And the reason I called out my friend Tammy Parker on Facebook, and I really, I would love it if she would comment. She and I always had this debate about paper versus digital organization. Tammy has, I don't know where she gets these either, but she works off of notebooks, okay? And she has these really cute little bound, they're very nice little books with lined paper, and they're about half sheet size, and she writes in those, and that's how she organizes her whole day and her whole life. I mean, that's where all her to-do lists go. That used to drive me crazy because I said, what if you lose that? What if that like falls and you put it on top of your car and you drive away and you forget that it was there and it falls off your car, and now you're without your to-do list, or you're going to die? And she's like, I probably would, but that's how she works. And she and I would get in these bit of debates about this all the time, and I would always be like, no, you should do digital. Well, now I'm confessing freely that I find myself here. Wait, I'm gonna pull it over here. I have this, and I'm not advertising. It's a Transamerica little book. I don't use Transamerica, but I have a friend of mine who does, and he gave me this notebook, and I happen to love it because it's got all these lined sheets in there, and I do a ton of to-do lists, and I've gotten to where now every day I redo my to-do list for the next day, and I've crossed things off and stuff, but it's like I refresh it. And I have to say, the act of writing down things I need to remember or do helps me do them. And that really is hard for a digital-minded person to confess, because I want the digital universe to be enough for me. And it's not for me. Other people probably work in it just fine, okay? Totally cool. But it's not enough for me. It's like my brain works better if I've actually had to put pen to paper and write something down, and then it goes in my brain. And guys, I have a quasi-photographic memory, and I don't even know if that's clinically a thing, but if it's down on paper, and particularly if I'm the one that's put it on paper, it stays here. So I think we've hit upon the fact that I have to be paper and digital, which is again why I will make the play that conferences should be paper and digital, even if it's a conference that is completely entrenched in digital. And I've been to some of those too. If it's a social media marketing conference, of course that's fully digital, but doesn't mean paper doesn't matter. Live streaming doesn't mean paper does not, figure in. So all of this to say, when it's paper versus digital, I really do think you can go either way. My husband and I will continually debate about this, because when it comes to grocery lists, I would love to do digital, because there are apps out there that would let us have a list that we work from, where if I happen to get to go to the store, I could check off the things I got, leave the things I couldn't get unchecked, and then it'll sync to him and say, okay, next time I go, I know I need to get this. I would love that. However, he is a paper guy, and so he needs a paper list. So we always have to work the paper list. Oh my gosh, somebody left in their pocket. We don't know what we need. It's just something we have to deal with. These are the battles we must choose to fight. But when it comes to conferences, I think that if you do due diligence as an attendee, exhibitor, sponsor, whatever, take advantage of the digital, but CYA, cover your butt. It's kind of censored myself there. Do screenshots. I tend to love printouts, so even if I can access it, I'll still maybe print it out, even if I reduce the size, but something I can still be like, hey, my battery died, totally legit problem at a conference, or my Wi-Fi's dead, my phone, something's on the fritz, at least I can pull out that schedule. One other caveat to this is that if you do a digital schedule, please make sure it's user-friendly. User experience is everything. Remember when I mentioned how a conference app, if it's well built, will let you have your own timeline of schedule. So if you happen to like or save more than one session that's in the same time slot, you can immediately see that and say, okay, I've got 3 I got to pick from. Which one do I do? Happened to me a ton at South by Southwest, a large conference like that. But typically a conference is going to have more than 2 tracks at one time. You have to pick which one to go. So your website, your landing page, your agenda on your website should be somewhat set up the same, where a person can easily say, well, I need to see what's happening at this time. What things are happening at the same time that I need to pick from, rather than making it possibly a long scrolling agenda, which makes me have to schedule, and I'm less likely to even try to get to a session if I'm like, well, I can't even find where I'm supposed to be. Again, user experience. Take the time to make tables, CSS tables. There are Google sites that help you do that. There are web developers out there who'd be happy to get paid to do that and say this was brought to you by so-and-so. So all that said, paper versus digital will be a debate that continues. I'm really keen to see if we digital natives are now outnumbering, the other side of us that are just kind of digital, what is it? I can't remember what that term is for us. Not digital natives, but digital adopters, I guess. But I think that eventually we're probably going to move away from paper. I'm even saying my kid right now is using cursive or taking cursive lessons in school. They only teach it for a couple of years, and that's kind of it. Some schools don't even teach cursive anymore. So we're getting to the point where we may just be a fully digital society, and that might, again, translate over to how we manage our productivity. So I hope this was helpful. I'll be blogging about this again this month. The blog comes out about the third Tuesday of each month, so it's not out yet, but you can find it at really.social. And this will be one aspect we talk about with conferences, but it also obviously bleeds over into productivity. But one thing that we want to expect from conferences is a really solid plan A, B, C for letting people know where to be when. and that definitely figures into paper versus digital. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, my third, oh, that's better. My fingers are cooperating with me. My third live stream from YouTube. And hopefully this is helpful. Let me know and comment away. And just looking forward to trying this out more. So thanks for listening. And I will talk to you guys soon. And with that, I'm going to stop the stream. You guys have a fabulous day.